Thank you for attendance today. I will hand over to Laura Kings, Australian Catholic's Assistant Editor, Education and Youth, to speak with today's guests, and thank you to our guests for giving up their time. Laura is an experienced teacher with a background in English, media studies and religious education. So thank you, Laura.
Thanks so much, Michelle. I'm excited today. I think this is the most guests we've ever had. So 4 guests in 1 hour. It's going to be really interesting. But we'll still try and make sure we do you all justice. So if you've read the blurb to this session, we live in a time when children and young people value empathy and social action. And this is just as true in Catholic schools. Mission is central to Catholic identity, but how can we provide students with meaningful opportunities to engage in mission? So today I want to share some of those opportunities. There'll be some that you can do in school and some that you can help kids to connect to after they leave school. And at the end, I'm going to share some ideas for those that students can participate in while they're at school. I'm going to share some ideas about how to connect that meaningfully to the classroom. And spoiler alert, it's through assessment. And so I did teach in a boys' school for a while, so I'm used to, does this count, Miss? Yes, it does. But we need to make it count meaningfully. And I think that's what we're finding from young Catholics today, is that they really like to see, how does this relate to my real life, and what action can I take, and it's actually really, really lovely to be part of when you're around it, because young Catholics are doing a lot of good around the place. So our first speaker today is Stuart Sallier, who's from the Cardoner Network, and I'm really excited about this because I've been trying to get someone from the Cardoner Network to come and talk to us for a while, because they do lots of work with young people in kind of a gap year model. And I'll let Stuart talk about that in a minute. But we've done professional learning sessions before about how to support students keep their charism after they leave school, and how to sort of stay within that idea of being Catholic as well. And so this is one way, and it's a really, really cool way. So we'll talk to Stuart first. Then we have Angus Rowan. Sorry, just because I just changed the order of the speakers, I've ended up with the blokes first. Apologies, that wasn't intentional at all. Just after International Women's Day too. So Angus Rowan is he's from Catholic Mission, and he's going to talk to us about Socktober. And lots of people will be familiar with that, but it's just a really good one to have in your back pocket. So, and we'll get Angus to fill us in a little bit more about that. Then we have Jenny Collins-White, who's the Catholic Mission Formation Associate Director and co-chair at Catholic Mission, and co-chair of the End Child Detention Coalition as well. And she's going to talk to us about some of the work that she does as well. And then we've got Katrina Tucker from not Jesuit Social Services, that's the people who share our office, from Jesuit Mission, to come and talk to us. And I think, this is the first time, last year I became aware of some of the things that Jesuit missions do with schools. And I think it's really nice to have a bit of variety and to talk about some of the other things that you can do. So that's a really brief introduction, and I'll let everybody tell you a bit more about what they're doing, but at least we now know what to expect. So Stuart, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in the Cardoner Network?
Sure, and just a quick sound check that you can hear me all clearly. Brilliant, lovely, thanks. Yeah, so I'm the CEO of the Cardoner Network. This is just in July, it'll be coming up to 2 years in the role for me. So this is an organisation that's actually been going since 2010. It sits obviously under the Jesuit umbrella, if I can describe it that way. So we're the young adult ministry of the Jesuits, and so almost 2 years out of sort of 15 means I'm sort of the spring chicken in the place, but not in terms of age, but just in terms of length of tenure. So but I've learned a lot in that time, and very, very happy to be talking about this ministry because it's pretty awesome. The work we do a bunch of things, but probably most relevantly, the one I'd like to highlight is the gap year type opportunity that we offer to students who have finished their high school studies. It's not limited to the first year out of school. It could be something that some people come to us when they've finished their studies. So after 3, 4, or 5 years, they come to us and say, I'm full to the brim with sort of study or thoughts of work. I just need to do something completely different. And if you like, what we offer is a bit of a pathway from some of that Ignatian spirituality that they will have learned a lot about and been immersed in at school, and we offer them an opportunity to develop that and think more about that in an overseas context. So we give them an opportunity to go overseas and spend somewhere between 3 to 11, 12 months overseas in a remote community. And it's faith in action. It's serving in and embedding themselves in that local community.
Just a couple of quick questions there. Do students have to have come from an Ignatian school in order to do that?
No, it's not mandatory by any stretch. They are schools that have Ignatian spirituality as part of their charism are ones that we tend to target because they're more familiar with why we're doing this, and they're more aligned with I guess the ultimate goal of what we're trying to achieve. But someone from a Catholic, and to be honest, we've had people who are happy to explore their faith, who pass through our interview process and get accepted. But certainly those from Catholic schools are very welcome to apply.
That's fantastic. And what do you do to prepare students for the experiences? Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about how to apply and what students should expect?
So on our website, contact us page, the most simple way is to really dive into our website, cardoner.org, and really have a look around. And on our contact us page, there are all sorts of ways you can express interest. It doesn't commit the students to anything. It really just kicks off a conversation that we then have with the students. We start to understand how long they might want to go away for, what countries they might be interested to go to. A premise of our organisation is we're very keen to avoid allegations of voluntourism. So we only go where there is a need in the community. We have partners who are typically Jesuit partners, but not always. And we talk very closely and often with those partners to make sure that the community wants our volunteers to be there. And that's a critical part of the equation for us. It's not just about the student and what it can do for them, although obviously that's a very big part, but actually making sure that the community is welcoming those students and those young adults and getting the benefit of their volunteer services is critical.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think in a year when we've heard about people dying of alcohol poisoning on their backpacking trips, to have a really meaningful alternative where you can come home and think, oh, I've actually done something really positive here is an excellent opportunity for young people. So, and I'm glad you did address that idea of volunteerism. Yes, hard to say.
Yeah.
So just to give people an idea about it, can you share any stories about the program that highlights the sort of transformational experiences students can have?
If you'll indulge me, I did print out an extract from a reflection that was given by Josh, who is now a history teacher at St Ignatius College Riverview. who was an Aloysius alumnus, and who went to Micronesia in the Pacific for 12 months. And this might take 90 seconds for me to read. I hope that's okay, but it's so powerful, and I don't think I really need to answer any other questions after I finish this, so we can move on to others. But it just typifies for me what Cardoner is all about. So, with permission from Josh, because he was happy for an extract to be published in Jesuit News, so I know it's public information. He says, "I left that island, Micronesia, with 1,000 memories. I could tell you moments of pure magic. I could tell you hundreds of stories that are utterly mundane. There are so many things that still give me pause, that still give me challenge. One, though, that is more vivid than just about any other is that last day of teaching. Michael," that's the other chap who went with him, there were two of them there on the island, he calls him my brother in humidity, and I walked down to our final day. We delivered a barely coherent piece of instruction, and we relished the final moments with the remarkable young people for whom we devoted our time. And when that little hand-rung bell sounded our final moment, those tiny, beautiful young people lined up in a single file with handmade flowers, a flower lei or wreath made of shells, and they placed them over our necks. We walked, weighed down by love and sadness in flower and shell form, and got home. We looked at each other, we hugged each other, and then we picked the corner and we cried. We cried the tears, the soft and gentle tears of overwhelmed hearts. It is a rare experience that brings emotion of that magnitude. It is a rarer friend who I could have shared it with in that silence, knowing what it meant to us. When I came back, I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to make sense of what the hell I had just done. Mark Twain says the events of life can be summed up in two very simple categories: the ones that matter and the ones that don't. This one matters. It is, without close comparison, the most important thing I've ever done. It introduced me to something my previous worldview could not possibly have comprehended. It ingratiated me to a community of these finest people it has been a genuine privilege to know. It solidified my vocation, and in so many respects, it made me who I am. It is without close comparison." That was Josh's story told. He's about 25 years old. He says it all.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, isn't it, about working in these programs? Do you find it rewarding as well as, offering reward to the students who are involved?
Oh, absolutely. To me, giving young people the opportunity to experience life out of the Sydney bubble, or the Melbourne bubble, or the Adelaide bubble, which is where our volunteers typically come from, and understand the world around them and come back largely changed people who are focused on the more, and I think it really starts to kick in a meaningful and, hopefully that example just demonstrated how impactful. So when you see that, to me, reading those reflections, if ever I have a moment where I think it's not worth going to work, I don't have too many of those in this job, I can tell you. But if I just need to pull that out and read it, that's what's life-giving for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I think a lot of teachers feel that way, even though the day-to-day can really, be heavy. But then when you can work within this sort of space and in this sort of doing good, it sometimes brings a bit more colour to your job. So I hope a few people get a few things to take away today. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Stuart, before I move on?
To be honest, just I could talk all day, as you could probably guess, but there are other speakers. So really just to direct people, Cardoner is the river, the Cardoner River, Cardoner. If you Google that, and if anyone ever wants to get in touch, through Jesuit Comms, I'm absolutely delighted to be in touch with people and help people get to know more about our organisation.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. Thank you so much for that, Stuart. Really, really appreciate it. I'm going to move on to Angus now. And Angus, do you want to start by telling us a little about who you work for and what you do in that role?
Yep. So my name's Angus Rowan. I'm the National Schools Engagement Manager for Catholic Mission. I've been with Catholic Mission now just coming up on 8 months. My background is in sports administration. So I worked at Rugby Australia, Cricket New South Wales, and SANZAAR. Growing up with a Catholic faith, I'm very passionate about that and being educated through Catholic schools as well. And my other passion being sport. This role allowed me to align both those passions together through Socktober in particular, which has led me to where I am today.
Sounds really good. And it's interesting to see you combining a passion in your job with some work that aligns with mission. And I suppose there's a way we can sort of, extrapolate that into our school experience when we're getting kids involved. I know my son's keen on soccer and certainly very impressed when anything soccer related happens at school. So can you tell us a little bit about Socktober and the opportunities you offer schools and students?
Yep. Yeah. So Socktober is our World Mission Month based initiative where we engage students through the use of sock balls, which is essentially it's a soccer ball made out of recycled materials, which gives students an immersive experience on what youth around the world face and the challenges that they face. The program is run over 3 weeks, and the stages of creating the sock balls to then running a soccer-related activity. So a lot of schools do a staff first student soccer game or a soccer-based shootout with the balls. And then incorporated in that is our mission packs, which are aligned to Catholic social teachings and give a bit more of an in-depth mission and formation-based workshop that teachers can easily run within class. We also run workshops, and I also look after major school-based events across the country as well. But Socktober would be the main area of my work.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the socks a bit more. Why socks? I know you touched on it, but tell us a little bit more.
The name Socktober obviously comes from the sock ball and the use of socks being made to create the ball. So we use recycled and old materials such as clothes on the inside and then wrap materials around those clothes such as socks to create the ball, which is what a lot of children overseas use to create their own soccer balls. So that's the whole idea around it. And, for me, having seen it be rolled out in schools where students are making the balls, that to me is such a rewarding experience that the light bulb switches that not every student in the world has an abundance of sports equipment to go out to at lunchtime. And it's a very small part of their daily life, but it just shows you how important such a tool is.
I can see that working on so many levels. I can see it on a Laudato Si level. I can see it on a, my kids just expecting to run up to the shops all the time and get another ball from Kmart. Go and make your own fun, children. So no, there's and also developing those empathetic skills. So it's an interesting concept, and it's good to have some more insight into it. And what sort of things, are you familiar with the classroom resources that support it? What sort of things do you do to prepare students to become involved in Socktober activities?
Yeah, so a lot of the time, so we have our localised staff that go into schools, and a lot of the time they work with the student leaders to engage them on the initiative and give them more information about Socktober, and then to give them insight onto the fundraising cause for that year. So last year was for a caring centre in Mongolia. So it's the pre-work that we go in, and I love the idea of Socktober is we then let the students and the school do what works for them. How a school like Riverview, for example, would roll out Socktober would be very different to a local primary school in a town like West Wyalong, for example. So I love the idea that the student leaders go away and come up with an idea that would work for their community and school.
What do you think why is it important that the school does it?
I think it leads into that faith in action part, but that student leadership part, we want the youth of today to become the leaders or the next leaders of the church. And I think we have to give them the tools and ability to do so, rather than telling them, this is how faith and action works, this is what you've got to do. We give them the tools and the knowledge, and then we let them go away. And if we have a look at the schools that are the most successful and have the highest levels of engagement in Socktober, it's those schools that the students lead from the front, the initiative within their community.
Is there a particular age group that Socktober is more benefited to?
Look, schools across the country roll it out for all age groups. I would say the impact is really between that year 4 and year 7 mark, when students are starting to develop a bit more, become more aware of their faith. I would say that would be the age group that has the most impact, but the program caters to all age groups.
Do you have any particular stories that you could share about? Yeah.
Yep. So I'm a country boy at heart, so I have a lot of passion for regional Australia, and I worked quite closely with a school out in Bathurst late last year. They were running Socktober for the first time, and I spoke to their student leaderships, student leaders and their social justice team, who went on to roll out the program within the school, engage them in the initiative, worked with them to form how they would run it, and engage local parishes as well. So it wasn't just a school initiative, and I kind of just forgot about it, busy life that we all have. And then 2 months later, the REC of the school called me, and she was just so amazed at the impact the program had. And she said, we really struggle to engage all of our students in mission and formation. It's normally a select group or select few that are really engaged in it. And for me, I've known from a young age the impact sport can have as a tool to engage youth in mission and formation. And the light bulb coming from that REC to tell me the same was really rewarding and further proof that the program does work, and sport is an amazing tool.
Absolutely. Are you familiar with how they reached out to parishes?
Yeah, so the students on the back of that then went in, presented what they were doing within the parish at the school, and then the parish raised funds towards the school's Socktober program.
Oh, that's magnificent. Yeah, lovely, lovely. And so obviously you love being associated with sport. Do you find that the work with children is rewarding in any way too?
Yeah, no, look, I think, as I said, the youth are the future of everything that we do. And I think being able to engage them is so rewarding. And having been the age of these children only 10, 15 years ago, and looking back and thinking, imagining if I had these opportunities and support networks and programs to engage in, I think my formation would have advanced a lot quicker. So it's that light bulb moment and seeing, we might not be able to convert every child that goes to a Catholic school to become a devout Catholic, but if we can support them and give them an idea of the key methods of being a Catholic that they then go on to undertake post-school, to me, I think that's a win. And I think it's initiatives like this that can do that.
Absolutely. Do you have any classroom resources or anything online that you want to share, or anything else?
Yep. Yeah, so socktober.org.au, if you head to there, it's got all of our information and a page dedicated to all of our mission packs, which teachers can use within the classroom however they see fit. They're fun, they're short, they're sharp, they're engaging, and yeah, lots of schools use them. I think last year we had over 700 schools use the mission packs nationally.
Excellent. Is there anything else you wanted to mention while you're talking to us today, Angus?
No, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
No, thank you. I keep turning my microphone off and I've got very slow hands. I was sneakily trying to find the link for Socktober there, and I've popped it in the chat. So I also put Stuart's links up if I looked a bit distracted. And I actually found the article because I happen to have a line to the guys in Jesuit Communications. So I went on their webpage and had a look. So that was great. No, thank you so much for that. And I like the way, I'd sort of put it in an age order. And so now we've ended up with the big kids and the little kids. Not that grades 1 to prep to 3 can't do mission activities, but they're probably probably just versions of what you're doing with 4 to 6 anyway. But there's lots of stuff you can do. You can find ideas in our teachers' notes actually if you're looking for any. So I'm going to move on to Jenny now. Jenny, can you tell us a little bit about your work and what you do? And you're with Catholic Missions as well, aren't you? So
yes.
never see each other at work. Or are you in totally different places?
No, we're in different rooms at the moment. We thought the sound quality would be better if we did it this way. So we're in the same workplace, actually.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We do know each other. It is good. Look, I'm just going to send my link before I get distracted about that sort of takes you most directly to the work that I do. So I'm just going to send that now, and then I'll I'll talk to, it's doing something funny to everyone. Everyone.
Oh, that sounds
Sorry.
great.
Yep. Hopefully
Thanks so
that's
much.
going to go. Anyway, I'll come back to it. Yeah, so my role is Associate Director for Mission Formation, but it basically means that I'm responsible for the holistic education in the area of mission. And I know sometimes I'm not sure if everyone online has a clear idea of what we mean by mission, because it's one of those things that can have many definitions and people can have different versions of it. And at the moment, we're actually running with Broken Bay Institute a contemporary model of mission, sort of short course of 8 modules that one of my colleagues is running, which really focuses on this contemporary model of mission. If anyone's looking for sort of some short courses to do, or a short course, it really is quite brief, and but it really updates that whole idea of mission. But mission being this, in terms of our theological language, we call it building the kingdom of God. But what does that actually mean? It means about building this world that we'd all like to see, one where there's some justice and equality, and where everyone has an opportunity for a full life. And that's really what the foundation of all of the work of mission is. But then, of course, it has all these strands that a contemporary model of mission will take you on, which is, to do with reconciliation and interfaith dialogue, and, to do with witness and proclamation. So a modern model, or a contemporary model of mission, is going to take you into all these spaces and focus on that. And so I guess my work is really about that sort of whole umbrella of things. And so I'm responsible for the programs that Catholic Mission runs, which take people on these journeys. Really, and the focus, just to come down to the pedagogy, because you've named it already as being that real world connection, that giving young people, students, teachers, that whole connection with social justice issues, where they can feel and they can touch the reality of these, of this whole area of mission. And so that they are immersed, and that they have an opportunity to interact and encounter, experience what it is to be engaged in mission. So essentially engaging the whole person in that sort of concept of Paulo Freire, the pedagogy of the oppressed. So that's like, many of you will have covered that material in your sort of studies, but that's sort of where we're coming from in terms of mission. And so the areas of work, so on that journey, or that model of mission that I just mentioned, probably the one that might be most relevant to people here today is the truth-telling resource that we've recently created with Aboriginal Catholic Ministry. So, with the Uluru Statement from the Heart, there's been this real journey to try and help people connect with our Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander brothers and sisters, and the sort of whole journey that we all need to go on to move towards reconciliation and form the foundation for a brighter future for all Australians, which is essentially what the leaders of the Yes campaign were asking us to sort of consider, what future we want and how we can do this together. So, post-referendum, National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Catholic Council, who are the leaders in the Catholic Church, have asked us to, all of us, to go on this truth-telling journey with them. And so we were able to we won a grant, great. We had a researcher who helped us devise this resource, this truth-telling resource, which we were producing with Aboriginal Catholic Ministry Sydney and ourselves. So we now, and that's the resource that I was trying to sort of, or the link that I was trying to send you, but it's sort of, it's not doing it, but I'll send it in a sec. Yeah, so I would really highlight that. It can be used in parishes, it could be used for senior students, and it's with this lens of church. So it's truth-telling and picking out characters from the colonial period right through to now, and looking at Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander peoples, women and men. It was devised with sort of the Sydney context, but that is where colonisation began. So some of the characters are from the Sydney context, but but it does have this ability to put in some local characters, so you can sort of move some out and move some in if you want to highlight a particular character that might be from your local context. So basically it's really trying to help us in church look at our own history and the truth of the different characters and the stories that have come through those 5 epochs, which match up with the curriculum in terms of history. So that's a pretty critical one that I would recommend that people have a look at and think about how you can use it in your school and parish context. The resource being there, totally self-directed, you can pick it up as teachers for sure and be able to run it yourself. So it's I think that's a great resource. The other area of work probably that I'd highlight for this group is our work with immersion. So similar to Stuart was mentioning his gap year, well, we have short immersive programs, obviously designed for senior students, where we take groups from 10 to 20. It's usually around the sort of 12, 14 mark, with teachers, a Catholic Mission facilitator, 2 partners, hosts that we develop relationship with, and the young people will basically go to have that experience in country. Even though it's short, it's tailored to open up a reflection every evening on not only the journey of the cultural journey and the exploration of global challenges, but what does your faith say in this space? What is gospel saying in this space? And we know if we were to pick one of our most transformative education programs, we know that that's it. We managed to run around 20 immersions a year. So still you're only able to get, around 200, 250 students through that program every year. But we know that it is the program that has that potential to really open young people's vision, hearts to this sort of alternative perspective that they may not have had the opportunity to journey on. And probably the final program that I would mention for this group is the CRISP program. You mentioned in the beginning, Laura, that I'm co-chair of the End Child Detention Coalition. This is an advocacy part of Catholic Mission's work. Catholic Mission has basically was a founding member to establish this End Child Detention Coalition body, which sits, we obviously give out our services in kind, but it is a body, a separate legal entity that can attract other groups beyond church into this space of advocacy. And one of the programs that we're trying to support from Catholic Mission is the Community Refugee Sponsorship Program. And that sounds like it's sort of outside schools, but it has the potential for parish and school to basically form a support group of 5 to 8 people to welcome a refugee family into your community and to support them for 12 months in their settlement. And this is a program that the Australian government has just made permanent. It was a pilot. And so Catholic Mission has been behind trying to get groups across Australia to take that program up, because it not only is helping a very marginalised group that we focus on in mission, but it's obviously the people that get involved go on a journey of encounter and engagement, and the community is transformed in the process. The parish, the school, whoever is connected with this journey of seeing a family arrive and getting to know them personally and moving through their first 12 months of settlement, it's transformative. So they're probably the 3 I would focus on.
Yeah, they're also exciting. I know with the young writers that they're actually, they're in that age group too. That's sort of, our young writers are sort of 15 to 17 years old, and then they stay with us onwards. Although I have got one who's as young as 12, but these are the topics that they want to talk about.
Yes.
And so, I think as teachers, sometimes it can be a bit challenging you don't want to speak on behalf of a marginalised group, and you need to speak, in a way that is informed. So if you can link into one of these programs and get that support, then you're doing things in the right way.
Yes.
And definitely good to, I suppose that's what we're talking about today. Kids are really hungry for those transformational experiences. And so we just want to take a chance to spread the word. You did a really good job of outlining all of those. Then, did you have anything else you wanted to add? I might get you to share a few links when we're on to the next speaker.
Yes, because it's not working for me at the minute. I guess I just do have a story of transformation of a young woman. It's a bit similar to Stuart's experience, but Jess Laidler, some of you may know Jess. She's from the Brisbane diocese, and she went through one of our immersion programs early on in her schooling, obviously, went to Timor-Leste, and she's on the record in terms of Catholic Outlook, saying what an eye-opening experience it was, and that it really set her on a different path. She found her passion there. She said, this is where the passion within me grew. This is what made the difference and, basically transformed me as a young person. She went on to do a Bachelor of International Relations. She came back and worked for Catholic Mission for a while. We were very lucky to have her. But then, of course, she moved on. And she worked for the evangelization Brisbane team for a while, and now she's gone on to, she's still in that space, but she really highlights the immersion program as this, Angus said, light bulb moment, the critical turning point where she said, this is what I want to do in my life, and just, went off and keeps growing and going on to great things. So that's probably the reward when you do see that opening and that, joining the dots and realizing that there's another world. And I've been in this work for 24 years, which I didn't say. My God. So that's what happens to us as we journey on that. It connects so deeply, and then it informs the choices of your life. And so we've certainly seen that happen with a lot of young people.
And it makes going to work as a teacher a lot more exciting when you get to be around that sort of energy too. I'm just going to quickly say a very big thank you to Stuart, because I think Stuart had to leave to go to another meeting. We're having a day full of meetings, all of us today. Thank you so much for coming along, Stuart.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
Thank you. No, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you all so far, but we still have one speaker. We've got Katrina Tucker, who's the engagement coordinator at Jesuit Mission. Katrina, would you like to tell us a little bit about your work and your organisation?
Would love to. Thank you for having me. So Jesuit Mission is part of the Australian Jesuit province, and we are responsible for the international development arm of the Jesuits in Australia, and we were founded in 1951, and we partner with Jesuit networks overseas to deliver community-led sustainable programs that focus on cultivating resilience and self-reliance for the vulnerable communities. So we do programs that focus on things such as teaching and education, healthcare, sanitisation, and developing independent communities. And we also do some emergency response. So, for example, with Ukraine, Syria and Turkey, and in Lebanon, we do respond to those emergencies and assist where we can. So in 2024 alone, we managed to reach over 600,000 people in our program. So we had a total of 66 projects in 13 countries with 25 partners. So we partner with the people on the ground to deliver the projects, and we're not government funded. All our funding is received through generous support of Australian donations that we receive. So it's wide reaching, it has the impact, and it's not only life-changing for us involved in it, but most importantly, it's life-changing for the people that we serve. So in countries like Timor or Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, the programs that we are lucky enough to roll out do make a difference and an impact on communities.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I find those, a few times I've been surprised how close the Jesuits have been to current events that are really used. And I think that can be quite motivating for students as well, if they can sort of see that what they're fundraising for or something, might be on the news that week or something like that. Can you tell me about how your work, so what opportunities you offer schools and students?
So obviously our programs are overseas, and we don't offer formal immersion programs like Jenny and Stuart were talking about, but obviously a lot of the programs that students will visit via the Cardoner program will be Jesuit Mission funded programs. But we do actively engage with schools through different programs that we run. So we go into schools and we deliver presentations and programs and teach them about the works and provide individual case studies about the people who we have impacted and the differences it makes. And I'm really excited that this year we're actually going to be launching a set of resources. So when Angus is talking about his resources and other resources that are available through different Catholic programs, we haven't had a formalised school resource program. We do run programs through different Jesuit schools, but these programs will be available on our website for download, and they'll start from prep or kindergarten and go up to year 10, and they'll have different links to the curriculum, including lesson plans, PowerPoints, and different activities, scriptural links as well. So I'm really excited to be able to offer that to the school community here in Australia. And then we do other activities such as 1 Foot Raised, which is like a walkathon, which we generally focus around St. Ignatius Day in July, but other schools do it at different times of the year. And it's a way for students to do something meaningful and engage with our programs and our projects, and also talk to their family about it as well. So the idea is that they commit to walking to support the most vulnerable. So last year we focused on Myanmar and the crisis that is happening there, and the focus of the walks was with Myanmar. So that is an activity that schools can participate in. But we also understand that different schools and different communities have different needs. So we're very, very happy to provide resources that suit the school's needs. So, for example, we had one school in Melbourne last year, primary school, that did a coin trail. And the good old-fashioned coin trail where the students bring in a coin and they literally made a trail, and some of the classes created artwork out of the coins. But that was a school that approached us and said, this is what we would like to do. We'd like Jesuit Mission to be the recipient of the money raised. And and we were very happy to provide resources to them. And, you know, the amount of money that raised may have been small, but it was that opportunity for us to engage with the students, even from a young age, to explain, you know, putting their faith into action, what it can achieve and the impact that it can have on people.
Oh, it's good. It's good to have a few options, because if one grade takes over one experience, then, you know, the rest of the school might want to have an opportunity to have the same experience. So as many options as we can have gives more classes an opportunity. So, you know, it's a shame I could only fit sort of 4 speakers in here today, because I reckon I could have had 12.
Yeah.
And probably just met one school's needs, you know. But yeah, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I just think, you know, listening to the other speakers, echoing their thoughts, that when you talk to the children and you have an opportunity to actually physically go into class, and for us to talk about our work that we do and the impact that they can have. And then when you see, you know, a connection with one student and the light goes on and they realize that actually I can make a difference, and that's very powerful, and it's very motivating to keep going. And we're very well, I feel very lucky to work for an organisation that makes a real impact on people's lives, and to be able to communicate that in the classroom setting and have a student connect with that is very empowering, really. And we do have many events that we hold within schools, and you know, we have like the bazaar held at Riverview in September, and you know, students come and they go on rides and they eat fairy floss and they play a game, but when you explain that what they're doing is actually raising money to go to a project that will have an impact, it's a powerful message.
And I think all of these things offer agency and voice on both sides, you know, so you're empowering students, you know, to live a good life and connect and feel heard and make an impact, as well as helping the community. So no, it's been absolutely fantastic listening to all the opportunities that that these organisations offer. And I'm sure there's plenty more out there. But I hope everybody's got a chance to kind of take a few things home today that they want to look into further. So I do invite the speakers to, if you haven't had a chance already, share a link in the message box. And I wish I could have spent more time with each of you, but at least we've got people on the right track. I just wanted to spend a few minutes at the end of the session to talk about the resources I'm going to provide for everybody. I'll just share my screen. So this is the handout I've put together, and in some ways I apologise. I'm telling teachers at the start, you know, what they already know, to put it politely, but I just wanted to talk about how, you know, you could link these practical activities to actual real world assessment, so that your classroom work and your formation activities and your mission activities all line up. Because I know sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming for a teacher to really get involved in the real world activities, but they're the most motivating activities for students. And they can link really strongly to the theology and to scripture and to the things that are identified in the syllabus that you need to teach your students. So I'm thinking, if I was planning this, where would it sit in the unit? And I was thinking, as Michelle mentioned at the start, I'm film and TV trained. So in film and TV in Queensland, we used to often have a model where we'd plan, design, create, and then critique a piece of film, because we always had the problem of how do you take something practical and assess it. So not all states teach film and TV in that way. I'm not even sure. It's been a few years since I've been in the classroom whether Queensland's still doing it that way. I know some people had a more textbook-based way of teaching, but this is how we did it in Queensland. And so, but you can use that model in your classroom, and or you can use the research model. You know, what's our hypothesis? Let's find out what the Catholic Church says about this. What does Scripture say about this? What do some of the famous you know, saints or people who've had an impact on the Catholic Church, what do they say? Then we can write a report or an analysis or a discussion, you know, depending on the age level, and how you want to actually deliver the mode of delivery. So I would say start out with the theory and then let kids run with it and take it and make it practical. So the easiest one is a Catholic social teaching. So let's just talk about that as an example, but I would say it moves beyond Catholic social teaching, and you can definitely see links in this particular presentation to Indigenous spirituality, and you can see links to interfaith experiences and world religion. So don't think those links aren't in your syllabus, because they absolutely are there. So I would definitely start out with, okay, this is what we're learning. This is what the syllabus says we've got to learn. Now, how can we take that into a practical experience and then bring it back and assess it? I've talked a little bit about formative assessment, but I know everyone really cares about summative assessment. It's very motivating in its own way to students, and it looks good. Here we go. Here's something measurable that our students have learned, which seems to be the flavour of the day at the moment. So in junior, you might look at, and some of these formatives, like honestly, a multimedia reflection, I could figure out how to assess that actually as a summative, or an action plan, I could use that as a summative. Theological link discussions, but still use that as your you know, way of getting kids to think about it, and then bring it into a summative assessment. So in primary school, we might have a simple action report, a photo essay. Make sure that there's a link between your visuals and your and what you're saying. A photo on its own probably isn't enough in this context, even though, you know, I'm in the business of putting visuals in magazines, and, you know, quite often the opposite is true. But make sure that they're making those links explicit, and also some scripture themed presentations as well. If we have a look at high school, and I know there's so much more in the primary that you can do with that, but some of these ones that are in high school can, you know, operate in primary school as well. In high school, you might want a service learning report, a portfolio of engagement, a final multimedia presentation. I love multimedia. I just want everybody to make a television report or a documentary about everything. It's so easy these days. You can have interviews with community members, or a scripture or a theological analysis. I've put some reasons why it's valid. I don't want to talk about pedagogy too much because I'm talking to the experts. But if you're thinking, well, how do I actually link this to Scripture? How do I link it to Jesus' example? How do I link it to Catholic tradition and teachings? I've put some ideas in there for you. And I mean, there's so much more that you can do with that. But if you're one of those people who's feeling like, oh no, everything will get out of control if I do this practical thing and then have to bring it back to assessment, it is, if you haven't had that experience, it's a wonderful way to teach. And the first time I did it, I still tell the story to my colleagues about the boy who gave a speech up at Villanova College, and it talked about going out with the Rosie's van in his speech for his assignment and speaking to a homeless man who turned out to be a stockbroker who'd lost everything. And this kid had a transformational moment because his dad was a stockbroker. And his conclusion at the end of that speech was, we are all a few poor decisions away from homelessness. And all of a sudden he had this empathy and this insight into the experience of others. And he stopped seeing marginalised people as an other and started seeing them as part of the group. And honestly, for me as a teacher sitting up the back of that room, that was a transformational experience. And that was in 2010. And I'm still telling that story. Mick's probably like, oh, she's telling it again. Okay, here we go. So just to wrap it up, we have a ton of this stuff because we run a young writers program, and we have our various competitions, our internship and our YVA. We have an absolute ton of articles that will provide you either inspiration or, more importantly, a model for your assessment. Sitting on the Education Hub. So we've got kids talking about their experiences in a lot of these programs. I'd like to get some of those Indigenous ones in the CRISP program. Well, I'm writing a story on the CRISP program, but I'd love to get some of my young people writing about those. So if anyone takes this away, get your students to write an article and send it in to me, please, with photos. And I've broken it up, and I could have gone on. Honestly, I was wasting time. I found so many articles I had to stop because we have so many that you could use as the basis of your assignments to link. So get your kids to write a feature article or use this as the inspiration at the start of the unit. You can write about the sacraments. This is what I'm saying. It's not just Catholic social teaching. You can write about pilgrimage or faith formation days or experiences and excursions. Look how many I've got there. School formation activities and incursions for your younger students where they're not going out as often. Or if your school is in a position where you can't go out, then, you know, there's so much you can do there. We definitely have people writing. Like I said, I had to, you know, stop myself from finding these activities. The new one is wellbeing initiatives. And I keep saying, with your wellbeing initiatives, link them to your actual Catholic principles, teachings, and theology, wherever you can, because they're clearly there. People just feel safer talking in the secular language. But it's a whole parallel system to what we're already doing. So help students to see how their well-being connects to their Catholicism, to their Christianity. The really obvious one is that a lot of schools have, higher schools have established programs in is service learning and social justice initiatives. Kids love them. They love them. So help them make those connections back to their religion, to their Christianity, to their Catholicism. Parish connections. That's why I picked up that one thing about, that's one thing we're really interested in growing is those parish connections and how do we do that ethically, safely and effectively. And I've also put some resources there. I could not find the best resources for South Australia, Tasmania and Northern Territory. So I apologise because I did have a look. I just ran out of time to find the right ones. But if you're in those states, you're probably familiar with them. But, you know, just to make sure that you feel comfortable that this is valid assessment, there's all your evidence there. So I've really quickly gone through that, but I'll put that up on the Education Hub and also we'll send it out with your certificates. And we've gone 3 minutes over time, I'm sorry. I'm going to hand back to Michelle and let you all go on your merry way. But thank you again to all our speakers. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you very much, Jenny, Angus, Katrina, and in Stuart's absence to him as well. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I think everybody will have enjoyed it and come away with something.